So computer users everywhere, as you're logging on today, are you still using 123456? Are you using admin with a small a or a large a? Are you using that password which has been stuck on a now curly yellow post-it note on the edge of your monitor for the last 3 years? Dr. Junade Ali is a computer scientist and knows a bit about security. Doctor, you're going to tell us we're silly and we should change our passwords more often, aren't you?
Actually, no. So changing passwords more often is actually something the National Cybersecurity Centre actually recommend against that. It's one of the interesting misconceptions we see in the research in that the Institution of Engineering and Technology has put out today, that we see 77% of people think changing passwords regularly makes them more secure, despite the fact the National Cybersecurity Centre has recommended against that practice. We also see that 65% of people think that passwords should never be written down, even though we now recommend for the use of things like password managers and in cases. So essentially, one of the most shocking statistics kind of in this research as well is that we see that 20% of the public, only 20%, so only 1 in 5 people are able to correctly identify a secure password over one which has already been compromised. So there's definitely some shocking things in there, but I think a lot of this is definitely a hangover from the time where we didn't really understand what best practice looked like when it came to password security.
I use a password manager. I had a panic the other day because I thought I'd forgotten the password to the password manager, and the very nature of these things means that they're not just recoverable all that easily, are they? That would destroy the point of them.
Definitely, yeah. And so one of the, a few years ago, one of the things I actually worked on was I invented the technology which allows, for instance, a web browser, a password manager, or your phone to tell you if your password's been in a data breach without actually needing to send that.
That's really useful. I've had that, right. You invented that. Well, congratulations. So
thank you.
What do we do as a result? If we get one of those warnings to say, this password has been seen it's out there on the web, and what should you do when you get that message, Junade?
Yep. So 3 tips for password security, which everyone can adopt. So first one is when it comes to setting a password, ideally use a randomly generated long unique password for each website. The rule of thumb is that longer is better when it comes to passwords. So it's safer to use something like 3 random words instead of a short password with lots of special characters and numbers in, which has probably already been in a data breach. So rule of thumb, generally longer is better. Second point to help people with that randomly generated long unique password is that this is where you can use a password manager to store your passwords for you, and it can tell you if your password's been in a data breach. And then the third tip is really to enable 2-factor authentication where possible. So that is where you get a code to log in. The app-based solutions are more secure than SMS, but something is better than nothing. One of the interesting things as well we see in the research is one of the misconceptions being that people seem to think that, the SMS solutions where you get your code over text message is more secure than the app-based solutions, but it's actually the reverse.
The 2-factor authorization using the text message is not that good? That surprises me.
It's better than nothing, but the best solution is to use an app-based solution.
Right.
And the reason for that is when you use an app-based solution, the code is generated using kind of a it's a cryptographic approach. So there isn't actually any communication. Whereas if you get over text message, if someone hijacks your phone number, or if someone is able to intercept it, or if someone steals your phone and just takes a SIM card out, they can get access to so we've actually seen some quite disturbing attacks recently where people have gone to a gym, they've left their phone with their SIM card and their wallet in the same place. And then even though their phone has a pin on, someone will just come along and take the SIM card out, bypass the security of that.
Okay, so just to get the browsers will on our phones and on our computers will memorize passwords as well, won't they? Is that safe or is that unsafe? Just as a final thought.
Yeah, so there's lots of different options in terms of password managers. There's ones built into web browsers. There's ones which are built into devices. I personally use a dedicated one.
Yeah.
But I think the web browser ones, they're definitely better than nothing. If you have a relative who can't use a password manager at all, it's safer for them to have a notebook where they store unique passwords than it is for them to have the same password reused everywhere.
Dr. Junade Ali, a very happy password day to you too.